The BlokeBusters podcast is proud to be a member of the Pod Bros Network. You can find us, as well as other fine shows such as The Guy Huddle, Language of Bromance, and Dave's Nerd Compendium at podbros.com, and on Twitter at PodBrosNetwork. Now sit back, relax, and enjoy this episode of the BlokeBusters podcast.
Welcome to episode 46 of the BlokeBusters podcast. I'm Brian.
And I'm Paul.
Today we're going to be talking about Whiplash.
Indeed we are.
But first, a little business, sir.
Yes, just a little bit of business out of the way. Let's see. Please do follow us on Twitter at BlokeBusters, and I mean that as in at symbol BlokeBusters. It's one of those.
I sense a cross-eyed Brian coming.
Oh yeah, there it goes.
at BlokeBusters. Okay. I think they understand the at.
Yes, well, I would imagine so, but you never know. You might get the one person that's like, at
depends where they're
wait,
at.
there's a thing? What? I don't know.
Depends where they're at.
Yes, probably. Okay. And obviously we're on Facebook as well, .com/BlokeBusters, or you can send us an email about how good we are, how rubbish we are, anything really.
Somewhere in between.
Yes, the only thing we would rather not get is a Nigerian prince trying to share money. The only reason for that is that the exchange rate isn't very great right now, so, you know.
And I'm, all my money is tied into one already. So.
Yeah, true.
I can't take on another Nigerian prince.
Yeah, exactly. So sorry, any future Nigerian princes. I want to
one
send
at a
us some
time.
money. But that will be at blokebusterpodcast@gmail.com. And then we have a website which I try and keep updated as much as possible, but sometimes I can't.
And it's a website.
Yeah.
It's just, you need to have one.
Yeah,
you don't need to. We're moving away from websites, I think. But
probably, yeah. So the website is blokebusters.webs.com. But yes, Twitter definitely at the moment is the best way to get a hold of us.
And to get a response and for us to see your feedback.
Yeah, exactly. It's really nice when we get stuff from people saying, I don't know, how much they like it, or talking about just having fun.
And quite frankly, we just love talking about movies. That's why we do this. So if you want to talk about a movie, just hit us up.
Yeah, exactly.
BlokeBusters, give us our thought, and we're more than happy to have a discussion about it. For good or worse.
Yeah, exactly.
Alright, so how'd this movie do?
Alright, well, let's see. Written and directed by Damien Chazelle, which is a lovely last name there.
Yes, I love the Chazelle show on Comedy Central before he went crazy and moved to Ohio.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
The budget for this was $3.3 million.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I believe it.
And the box office as of March 1st was $13,166,092.
I think turnaround.
Yeah, I think that just about 12 million of that is US domestic. I don't think it did that hugely outside of.
Well, probably didn't see many screens outside.
No, yeah. I know it was out in the UK. I don't know how long for. I don't think it was one of those really long runs. So.
And now that it has some Oscars attached to it,
they
might get a re-release overseas.
Either that or the DVD and Blu-ray.
Oh my gosh! Yeah, on demand's gonna blow up. Yeah. So I guess I should tell you what this film is about.
Sure. I mean, we could just start talking about it. But,
let's go.
Why not see if a contemporary website has something to say about it?
Well, I'm going to try to. As far as I understand, it's about the making of the soundtrack of Birdman. So I think that, unless I saw a different movie, perhaps I did.
Something along those lines, yeah.
Okay.
So
there was a lot of drumming in Birdman, Paul. I don't know if you know that.
So you're saying this isn't a sequel to Crash, then?
No, it's a very immediate. Yes, it's not the sequel. It's just in between. Yeah,
yeah. It's the bit just before the lawyer gets
Crash
to the
1.5, and Recovery is then the yeah. So yeah, it's about this young, promising drummer student who enrolls in a top cutthroat conservatory musical academy, and his instructor will just basically stop at nothing to get the best out of his students. Mm-hmm. So that's pretty much what you get.
Yeah, well...
That and a lot of jazz music.
Very true. Now, I wanted to ask you, I mean, obviously the main crux of the film, for the teaching standpoint, is how much is too much when it comes to that stuff. Like, obviously, in the film you see some, what people would say, excess. Hey, maybe pushing too hard, but would you disagree with his thinking, at least, behind this?
I will say, I think we'll try something new here. I think we'll just go through the cast as we discuss the characters.
Yeah.
So the character you're speaking of is J.K. Simmons, or the actor is J.K. Simmons, who plays Fletcher.
Yes.
And so you're asking, do I think he goes too far generally? Or where is that line?
Do you think that what he was trying to do and the way he went about doing it was wrong? Or do you think that him trying his very best to get the stuff out and going to extremes? I mean, obviously, there's the argument there of the stress that he's putting the kid under, but then he gives the argument later that that's the way you get these musicians.
That's the way you also get him getting into a traffic collision and blood pouring down his face and still trying to run and make it back in time.
Very true.
You also get that.
Yes. So where do you think that line is?
I think it's an individual kind of situation because different people have different stress points. Right. I think you just have to be able to read people well, and if you sense that someone is stressed out or freaking the fuck out, probably dial it back a bit. I definitely say physical. Anything physical is too far.
Right.
But he verbally abuses him most of this movie.
Yeah, well, I don't think there's
he does
any
smack
point...
him that one, multiple times in that one scene. But
well, yeah, but aside from that one scene, which I think the main character was actually more okay with that than finding it more difficult to deal with the verbal and emotional side of it. So I don't think that one scene was over the top. Obviously, the middle of the film, the car crash was definitely the point where you start to realise maybe he is pushing this kid a bit too far.
But I mean, also the kid, Miles Teller, who we're talking about, the Spectacular Now. See it if you haven't seen it. Yeah. Fantastic movie with Shailene Woodley, who you might know from The Fault in Our Stars as well. But he's just absolutely incredible in this film as well. But where I was going with that is that he is not completely innocent either. He is a bit of an asshole.
No!
It's not like he's just, I want to be a drummer someday, and this guy's being mean to me. He's a bit of a prick. And
very much so. And still has a diva complex.
Yeah, and he's very immediately gets a sense of ego once he's accepted into this main band or whatever, like, this is my spot. I'm your drummer, and I'm just kind of telling J.K. Simmons what's what. So,
which is a bit odd, I think, because I mean, obviously the ego is the thing at play there, but the way he got into the band was by replacing the current drummer, and then he immediately thinks that will never happen to him. That's definitely a bit of denial in there as well, on top of everything else. You could be replaced just as easily as the last guy. So what's the thing there? Obviously, you find out throughout the film that he is looking to be the best drummer, one of the greats. Yeah, not just a great drummer, one of the greats.
Yeah, with the scene where he breaks up with his very brief girlfriend, who's played by Melissa Benoist. I don't know if I'm saying that name correctly, but
probably.
Also, I would like to just say that scene would never happen in real life. No man has the balls to actually say that.
And also, I want to say the girlfriend character is pointless. The only reason she is in there is to show that he's willing to give up stuff.
That is why she's there, yeah.
But it's like, you introduce this character where they clearly like each other. They go on, as far as we know, one date, and then
that we see. Yeah.
So she is on screen, I think, a total of maybe 5 minutes in the film.
A little less than Beetlejuice.
Yeah, so just a third of the Beetlejuice, I know. Yeah. But I would argue that you could have easily done the giving things up with, maybe him stopping going to the films with his dad, stopping doing anything other than eat drum. Like
I think it had to be a romantic relationship because it shows he's willing to give up his personal happiness for his professional glory.
I guess.
Yeah,
and the one thing that I really did like about towards the end is that even when he reaches out and is like, I've changed.
Thank you, movie trope, for not letting her come run back to him. Because that would have just pissed me the hell off.
I mean, something that actually happens in real life.
Yeah,
she got a new boyfriend.
People move on. I'm sorry, you're too late. Yeah. I'm sorry you have your shit together now, but... yeah.
And even though she has a new boyfriend, she didn't turn up at the hall at the end either. So at least that we saw, there was no. Which
that was
movie
not the focus of that.
In movie language, that means she didn't turn up.
Yeah, exactly.
That there was no shot of her.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
But I was watching the film, and then at the end, I was thinking about it and just going like, aside from, I guess, wanting to hammer in the emotional aspect of he is giving up everything he was working for to work on this, like that the whole girlfriend was basically a mute point. There's no I think you could have cut her out of the film and still had a great film.
I suppose. I don't know. I'd have to see how it would play, but
I
didn't mind it. It wasn't an overly long film,
no,
so
it
didn't feel like that it needed cut.
No, I'm not saying that it was padded or anything like that. It's just that thinking back on it, I thought, you could cut out all scenes with that girl and you wouldn't have a film where it's any less him getting obsessed over this stuff. So.
I'll get a little bit on my feminism high horse, though. When we had so many films this year that were just groups of men. I mean, there aren't many roles for women, so I'm happy that there was something in there. Because, I mean, you think, like, a film like Foxcatcher, there's, like, one woman in that for, like, 2 scenes. The Hulk's wife. I'm just going to call her Hulk's wife. But those were a lot of the films this year, so, I didn't mind it. I didn't mind it at all.
That's another thing. I don't want to come across as
No, I wasn't trying to say that you were by saying that. But it's nice to have a small role in there. I will say another fantastic small role I thought was Paul Reiser. I thought he was absolutely great.
Yeah.
It's someone I don't think of. I mean, he's, for me, always been a sitcom actor. And
I
not
don't know
familiar with many of his film roles.
Nah, not really.
And I think he's done a lot of straight-to-video type things, or a lot of rom-com type stuff.
Yeah,
Where's the Friend, or
I think that's
like
the problem with me growing up in the UK is that a lot of the either sitcom actors that are now doing film or stuff like that, I end up missing out on because we didn't get all of the sitcoms that you guys had over here. Growing up when I did, we didn't have that sitcom. We had another one. So.
Exactly. But I thought he was great. I could have used more scenes with him and Miles Teller.
Yeah.
Especially like there was that great dinner table scene where clearly he has like all of his children are fairly successful.
Yeah.
And you could argue that Miles Teller is probably the most successful, but gets the least respect.
Yeah.
Because he's just wanting to be a drummer. That's not a real job.
It was a really interesting scene because it does kind of show these people that are doing the American football stuff or doing the I'm class president at this thing, like these are seen as big stepping stone type thing, whereas someone that is working to become a really great musician, it's like, you're doing this artsy thing. Well, that's nice.
The strumming. You tell jokes. Oh, that's nice. You just want to tell jokes the rest of your life and be a comedian? Yeah. That's nice.
It's one of those things of, I don't think any of them had heard him drumming at a recent stage. Like, since he's been working so hard on this. And they're all still just going, yeah, sure, whatever. This person's been doing this. It really was.
I mean, I guess a lot of that was to kind of show that he's not getting a ton of support from them. I mean, I know he and his dad are close, obviously, that by showing them go to the movies all the time. I mean, of course, he's a grown young man, but he still goes to the films with his dad, which I thought was really sweet and nice to show. Yeah,
that was a cool little thing for him. I mean, I was thinking when I was watching that scene, it's like that's when you really start to see his ego. He, rightfully so, is annoyed that these people are getting the credit. But then he goes into the arsehole territory with really pointing out, like, you just kick a ball around. It's like, that's good, yeah. And what are you going to do with that later in life?
Yes.
Like,
what is your plan B? Yeah.
Like, and if you break a leg, which, I mean, technically that would be true of him as well. As we saw, you injure your arm,
the scenes with his just hands just raw and bloody were just horrifying to watch.
Although I will say that even, like, obviously we're jumping around in the film here, but he gets hit by a truck on the way to get this spot that he fought for, and because he forgot his sticks, he's not going to get it. But he's like, that's my part. He gets hit by the truck, and he still makes it to the place with his arm clearly not in shape for playing.
Oh yeah, it's hanging like Bob Dole's arm. If anyone's old enough to get that reference, I'm Bob Dole.
Bob Dole. But even with his arm like that, I still think he plays all right until he reaches the point of just not being able to grip anymore. Like the actual drumming was fairly good until he drops that stick the first time. It's like, you are done.
I don't know. I'd like to move to J.K. a little more. The Oscar winner.
Yeah, definitely.
We've spent a lot of time on Miles Teller, which is fine. He is the star of the film. Yeah. But J.K. Simmons, I think, is equally the star. Winner for Best Supporting Actor. A fellow Ohio State Buckeye. All right. J.K.
I wrote down, J.K. Simmons makes this film.
He is incredible. Deserves that Oscar, every bit of it.
And it's really interesting as well, because going into it, my main image of J.K. Simmons is J. Jonah Jameson. Because that is the most I've seen from him before going to see this film. Coming out of this film, I no longer have that. Like, J.K. Simmons is J. Jonah Jameson. I'd love to see him play the role again, because I think it's a lot of fun seeing him on screen. But this really showed the range that the guy has, where you get a lot of the being emotional, even if he might actually be faking it a little bit or something.
No. I absolutely loved that scene where he found out one of his former students had passed away. Yeah. And I thought that's what got him the Oscar, to be honest. Oh, yeah. I mean, because for someone who is just a hard-nosed dick for an hour and a half, for him to show that vulnerability. And I will admit, at first I thought it was a ploy. I thought he's doing something here to manipulate them, but it felt like a genuine moment, and because he just ends it by saying, "I just thought you should know about it." Yeah, and and then all right, let's get wipes his eyes. Let's get started. Yeah,
and you got to see as well. You did see the point where he got the phone call, and he kind of explodes at that point. So it clearly is a very raw thing for him. But but then later in the film, you find out that when he told the guys that it had been a car crash, you find out that the guy that had died, his former student, spoiler, had in fact killed himself. Yeah. So you don't know once you've been told that. It's like, well, the kind of raw emotion there, was it him being mad at himself, or was it, as he says later, just him genuinely being sad that this guy had passed on? And maybe it was the point of his protege that could have been the next guy, and now he can't be this guy, so he's lost it now. I think maybe that's what it was. Either way, like, he nailed that bit. Like, he nailed being able to give out these beats from this guy. And I'm
just laughing right now at a picture of him screaming at the fat trombonist.
Which I think was a fantastic...
It was funny too. I don't know where you're going, but
like that scene, the first scene where you really see J.K. Simmons being this guy, and he comes in, they start playing stuff, and then he knows someone's out of tune, and so he zooms in on this trombone guy, and he's like, play it, do you think you're out of tune? Get rid of the guy, and the second he's out the door, for the record, you were out of tune.
But he didn't know the difference, so that's why he's gone. Yeah.
It's like that was, I think, probably...
If you don't know you're in tune or not.
The perfect introduction to, so this is what this guy is like.
Yeah. I mean, it was... A little bit of it was like Arlie Ermy in Full Metal Jacket.
Yeah.
In that opening scene, where you do not want to piss this guy off, but goddammit, he's funny too.
Yeah, he's mad at these guys, but he really is just trying to push them forward, and he's trying to really
it
get
goes back to what you started the
so.
podcast with. There's two schools of thought to get people to perform: fear or love.
Yeah.
Get them to love you or get them to fear you, and a lot of people choose that fear.
Yeah.
There's lots of coaches that do that. I know you're not a huge, but there's Bobby Knight, who's a college basketball coach.
That guy,
yeah, chair thrower, all that kind of stuff. Gets the best out of his players, but also they hate him usually.
Yeah.
So.
I think it's one of those things of 5 years down the line, when you've moved on and you're working in something else, you can look back and think, well, I didn't like the guy, but he was pushing me. And I think, obviously, that's the schools that this guy's going for, but obviously to the extreme.
Yeah, or you could also have the thought of, wow, this basketball turned into nothing. Now I don't have a degree I want. I lost my girlfriend that I really loved, and screw that guy. So you could have both guys.
Yeah, you can. And I want to talk a little bit about the ending of it.
Oh my gosh, yeah.
Because obviously it's a scene very highly charged because... should we preface it with Miles meets up with...
I think so, yeah. What has it been, like, how many months?
I think it was 6
summer,
months,
or
something like that. Right?
Yeah.
It had been a while. He clearly dropped out of the school that he'd been going to, and he ends up seeing that his old teacher, who has now been fired, is doing some jazz stuff at this club. So he goes in. I guess I won't lead with that. Go ahead.
No. Yeah. All right. I think you know what I was going to say, but yeah, go ahead.
Right. So he goes in, sees the guy on the piano doing some nice jazz, and then ends up talking to him. And you kind of get the feeling that the guy, he's been chewed out, he's gone from his post, and he gives a speech of like, I will never apologize for what I tried to do. And
oh my gosh, can we say the what does it say, the two most damaging words in this language is
good job.
Yeah.
Which I do kind of agree in a way,
because once you start patting yourself on the back, then you're comfortable with where you are.
Yeah. Obviously,
and you don't drive forward.
Obviously, when it comes to some things, saying good job is fine. But when you're talking to someone who is trying to better their craft, then just the words.
Can you imagine JK's that character having like a 3-year-old that colors him a picture? What the fuck is this supposed to be? A puppy? This is shit. Tear it up and throw it away. Yeah. Instead of saying good job.
Oh yeah, there's not the second out the door. It's like, what the fuck am I supposed to do with this
just
thing?
Some scribbles.
Send us in for a Rorschach test.
Yeah.
Sorry,
get on my tempo, you little brat. I see him as a dad now. Okay. But anyway, that scene in the jazz club.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where he talks about, some guy came forward and talked about what I did, and that ended up with me getting all this, and you see the look on Miles' face where it's like, okay, I think I've gotten away with this. Like, I don't want to say anything right now. I'm going to ruin it. And he ends up inviting him to play with this jazz band on stage. I can't remember where it was.
It's just some nice concert benefit type thing.
Yeah, saying, I've got some of the best musicians I'd like you to come play. It's the old set, you know it.
Yeah.
And so he then goes on the stage. JK walks out, goes to the mic and says, "We'd like to start with a new piece."
Yeah.
And you just...
Did you see that coming at all? I did not.
I didn't, but it didn't shock me.
Okay, but yeah, it's hard to catch you off guard, and I was wondering if you were caught off guard by that, because that completely shocked me that he threw him under the bus.
I will say that I was kind of surprised in the jazz club that J.K. Simmons' character didn't know that it was him. Like, it something didn't quite ring with me that this guy didn't know.
It also surprised me that he was willing to sacrifice his own professionalism or his own appearance as, you know, being in charge of these guys by having a shit drummer up there.
I guess.
You know? But,
although, as you saw, he just kind of played it off. It's like, I do apologize. I don't know what was going on. So he was, I think he always had that in his pocket of like, I can get out of this. Although, two things. Number one, he was obviously assuming the guy would just leave. Yeah. So he was going to play the rest of the set without the drummer.
Well, I'm sure he had someone ready to go.
Maybe. I didn't see anyone else there. So.
Yeah, possible plot hole.
Maybe he was going to just... He had someone planted in the audience. Just like, oh, well, how about, I know you can play, get up or something.
Yeah.
And second, it's a jazz band, right?
Yes.
Shouldn't he be able to improvise something? I mean, even if it wouldn't necessarily be specifically in the song, surely you'd be able to hear the rest of the instruments and kind of give something, at least
you think
along
you could
the
just
rhythm.
do some, just keep in time with the music,
yeah,
and not do anything crazy.
Assuming no solo turns up, you should be okay.
But yeah, so that happens, and then another scene I loved is when his father's there and they just hug, and like that, that almost got me.
He walks.
Like, he just wants to hug his dad.
He walks off. And then the dad's there just like, let's just go. Like, you don't need this. At which point you see Miles just like, no. Like, I'm
see,
not.
I love that too, because I was willing to accept that ending of okay, this isn't going to be for me, or at least not in this way.
Yeah, I mean, it would have been. It's one of those things where either way, him deciding like, I am done. That's a good ending. Like he finally accepts that what he's been working towards, at least with this guy, like just isn't it? That's just not the way he should go. That's a really good ending. And then also overcoming this.
A much better ending.
Yes,
where he's to hell with you. You're not going to get the best of me.
No, and which.
He just, oh my god, he goes on that solo for like 5 minutes.
Yeah. Now, the two things. Again, two things here with this. Number one, no one in that audience is hiring this guy. Like, I don't care how good a drummer he is. The fact that he did that and how he did it, no one's going to take him on. Like, if I hire this guy, what's he going to do? He's just going to do what he wants. He's not going to do what I want.
You might be overthinking it a bit, and you also might want that renegade too.
That's true. I mean, assuming he's a good drummer, then maybe you'll just take the guy on. But whatever. They say, okay, I'm going to come in. I'm just going to do this. And then say, no, we need you to do this. No.
No, I'll cue you in.
That's not how it works. Yes, it is.
Oh, I love that though. When Fletcher comes up, like, what the hell are you doing? Like, I'll cue you in. And just goes back to his thing.
I got when they got to it, like 4 minutes in, where it's like all the sound just goes. And he's drumming, and it's like, okay, so this is kind of showing like he's in, I guess, the zone. Like he's reached a point where it's like, this is him having finally clicked everything that he's been going. He's got
reached his drum nirvana.
Yeah, he is in.
He doesn't feel the pain.
He is in the fucking tempo. But I didn't really get what they were going for. It was just going on so long that I was like, is this what a drum solo in a jazz thing is like? I didn't get it.
I think once again overthinking.
I mean, obviously
he's
trying to get the respect of JK's character.
I don't know if he's trying to. I think that's more of a byproduct. I think he's just wanting to show that he's got what it takes. That you're not going to intimidate me. I think the respect is a bonus. I think because I do think at the end, I think that Fletcher does respect him.
You get the nod.
I think he was pissed off, but yeah, you get the nod.
Yeah, it definitely goes from him being pissed off to him kind of seeing it and then just being like, all right, I'll go with this. I'll get this. Mm-hmm. But
he had very little choice at that point to go with it.
Yeah, short of taking the drums away.
Yeah, kicking the drum. Yeah, putting his foot through the drum.
Yeah, but I do think, even though, good drumming and all that, I did think it went on just a little too long.
I think they needed to make you feel bad.
To get the excess.
Because if it's 2 minutes or something, does it have the effect? Does it have 3 minutes? So you want to make sure it has that effect. You want to know, like, he is just doing this, just because he can do it, he's showing it. So it needs to feel like it's too long. Like a silence when someone's trying to exert their power over you and waiting for you to speak, it needs to be a long time. So I felt like this needed to be long. And I think it was right about where it needed to be.
I mean, I fully understand like the decisions that went into that and all that. It's like, maybe it was because I wasn't fully there with like what exactly is happening here until at the end when like it just when it finished and I was like, oh, okay, now I get it. I think it was because I wasn't up to speed, as it were, during. You were dragging, rushing. I was dragging a little.
So you do know the difference.
I do. I do know the difference.
Put in the sound of a slap there. I don't want to actually say it.
But yeah, I thought that the whole film kind of feels like a jazz piece in and of itself. You got the moments where it just kind of all speeds up and like you're getting all of this stuff on screen, and then it takes the slow time. And of course, that being said, you also get a fantastic soundtrack. Like one of the best soundtracks to a film I've heard. Just good musicians playing good pieces.
I was going to say I am not a jazz fan, to say the least, and this film almost made me like jazz. I definitely loved the pieces in this movie.
Yeah.
Still not a jazz fan, but I will second your soundtrack opinion.
Well, there's one thing, I saw a review of this film where they said, I don't know about you, but if somebody knows Whiplash and whatever the other, Caravan, off by heart, they're a good musician. These guys are
extremely technical, difficult pieces.
It's something that not only is it really difficult to get the tempo up, but to know it is insane. And obviously that's what the Miles character does know. He manages to learn them by heart. And
not needing the sheet music or anything.
So I don't think, even if I started learning the drums now, I don't know if I'd ever get to that point of being able to do some of these incredible pieces off the top of my head. Like,
it's a world I know very little about. It's
something that I don't think anyone outside of that world will ever truly get is just how much time and effort does go into these things. I mean, the same way that people that haven't been studying film might not get everything you see on the screen.
But there's always something to appreciate. So, when you listen to just any piece of music, or even popular music, there's more going into it than what an amateur or a novice's ears can hear.
Well, I mean, there'll be artists that I may not like their music at all, but I would never say they're bad singers. There's some people out there that, like Lady Gaga, for instance. I'm not a fan of Lady Gaga, but that girl can sing. Like, she is really good.
American Horror Story. Looking forward to American Horror Story. She's meant for that show.
I was going to say, I think a season too late. Wasn't the last one Freak Show? Silly.
Freak Show would have been, or Asylum.
I think my wife is into American Horror Story. My wife. And I think she was kind of shocked, like, why is Lady Gaga getting into it? It's like, no, I can see the reason.
They named the show after her, so she might as well be in the show. All right?
Yeah, there we go.
Okay.
Let's run with that.
Nothing at all. Yeah. Anything else about Mr. Whiplash?
Well, what Mr. Whiplash.
That's what it was known as in the UK, right? Mr. Whiplash.
That sounds like a mascot or something. That's the All-State mascot
Monsieur
now,
Whiplash.
Mr. Whiplash.
Sorry.
What did you think of the style of the film, the look of it? Because I was thinking a lot of times it seemed to be lit the same way that a jazz club would be lit, like the sort of the dim lighting.
Having never been in an official jazz club, I can only assume from what I've seen in other films of jazz clubs.
Yes, but like a lot of dim lighting.
It was very cool, very stylish.
Yeah.
It was a very limited color palette, but I liked the blacks and the browns and the
very subdued. I think like the colors in the film, which.
But it let the performances stand front.
Exactly. There was no like bright colours in front of these fantastic performances, which is
those didn't want you to be detracted from that.
Exactly,
all.
And
that and the music were what you needed.
Yeah, one of my favourite things about film is when you find something where it's the performance is front and center. Like there's nothing else on screen that is taking away from it. Which you get.
So obviously the set director, set design knew like it's their job to be in the background to to make a good looking film. Well, of course, because you always want the film to look good.
Exactly.
But you don't want to be the first thing that people say is, "Oh, that film looked amazing."
Yeah.
You don't want to talk about J.K. first of all. You want to talk about Miles Teller. You want to talk about the music.
Basically, they want to listen to this podcast then.
Exactly. Way to bring it back home.
But yeah, it's one of those slightly a sad thing actually, where if you are a costume designer, a set designer, the best thing that can ever be said about your work is that no one noticed. Like, is that
like
you did so good a job that people weren't picking at it. Like, it was just, that is just that.
Yeah, no one would wear that.
Which is something that you don't see a lot of, and I think mostly minimalist films is what you see a lot of really good stuff like this going in. And I think that Hollywood could learn a lot from, just try and maybe scale back a little bit on everything else and just go with these types of things. But yeah, I said they could learn a lot. I didn't say they would learn a lot.
True enough. Yeah. Yeah. Well. Yeah, right. I'm just depressed because we're in a down time of movies right now before spring.
True, yeah. I mean, I think the biggest film coming out soon, obviously, would be Age of Ultron.
Mad Max.
What? Yes, I know, but
Tom Hardy.
Age of Ultron and Mad Max. So I think the two big films coming out. And then I think we got another month or two before the summer blockbuster period hits. Yeah. So just give me a few films like Whiplash and just to watch in between the big ones.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, that would be, I guess, the dream would be that you'd have like 2 or 3 big films throughout the year, and then several just nice, good acting, like small-ish film in between. So you got kind of the highs, and then I don't want to say lows, but you got the rhythm, as it were.
Mm-hmm. Well, I love films like this and just character pieces.
Exactly, and it's something that you don't see as often as you really want to. Coming out of
and I'll say I delayed seeing this for a long time because I didn't think I cared for it. I'm like,
really?
A movie about jazz drumming. I'm like, ugh.
Yeah,
and I knew the premise, like, he's a mean guy, and then I just watched it on demand and liked it a lot more than I thought I would.
Yeah, this is one of the films that I would love to, assuming that they put it on the Blu-rays and stuff, I would love to get the Blu-ray just to see the behind-the-scenes stuff and see what went into this and what the actors had to say about their performances and what they had to go through. Because I think listening to J.K. Simmons talk about the preparation for the role and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I think that would be really interesting.
I do want to see a gag reel of when he's yelling at them too. There's got to be one where he keeps messing up his lines.
Yeah, and although the question is, like, how much of that did they let him just go off on? Because I think if you script too much of that, then you will get a lot of breaks and guffaws and stuff. But if you just let him pick what he thinks is right in the moment, then I'd love to see all the alternate takes, of which I'm sure there are plenty.
I'm sure, yeah.
It kind of makes me think that, what if I'd had a teacher kind of like that, just pushing everything in any other subject that I did at school? Like, what would I have ended up being? A geography major or something? Like, if I just had the one,
end up hating that subject.
Exactly. Yeah. Like, you know what? I've never had the teacher that just like pushes like this guy, and I don't know, was that a good thing? Was that a bad thing? I don't know.
I think the viewpoint of the film was this was too far.
Is that he went too far, but then you get the sort of redemption at the end, sort of, where it's like he was pushing the guy too far, but now look what the guy's doing. It's like, was he validated in the end with this one guy?
For one guy, yeah. I mean, but then what's the cost?
Exactly.
You have that one great guy, but you have how many students that are emotionally damaged that are going to carry that emotional damage into their personal relationships, that are going to be affected by that their entire life.
Well, I'll bet you anything, if you were to ask the Fletcher character, was it worth it? He would say yes.
Of course it's worth it, yeah.
It's like, well, those guys, they clearly weren't going to make it, and look what I've got now. Like, I managed to teach this guy, and now he's drumming like this. Like, this is what I wanted.
I will say, we skipped over it too. I did love his Fredo and Michael moment. Him being the Michael, I knew it was you, right before they started playing. And just that Sicilian kiss almost. Yeah. I thought that was great. Just to let him kind of shit his pants a little more before. That was absolutely great. Like, I knew it was you that ratted me out.
Yeah, and it was one of those things where it was great to see that character just kind of turn. And that was, as you were saying, like the thing that you just don't see coming at that point, especially given how quick it was as well. And like, nothing leading up between him asking him and him walking over to him.
Yeah, because nothing in that conversation in that jazz club indicated he was going to fuck him over.
No, and
like, they had a pleasant conversation. They seemed almost like they were friends and they had reached mutual ground.
Yeah, and then when he went in and the band talking to the guy, and he's like, fine. The only thing that didn't 100% sit with me, I guess, in that scene was how nice he was. Like, he didn't swear, period, when he was talking to that band. And I was thinking, like, he wouldn't change that much. Like, he wouldn't take all of that out of him. So maybe there's something there. I don't know.
But still, I was pleasantly surprised, and this script got screwed over by the Oscars. I'll say. Once again, one of the many screw-overs by the Oscars this year.
Yeah.
But it shouldn't have even been an adapted. It should have been an original screenplay, because it was very loosely based on this little idea.
I mean, I think that's the problem you're going to get with a lot of films now, is that if someone says, "Oh, my idea came from this," even if it's nothing like that, it's like, well, that's not your original idea.
But that is his screenplay. That is Damien Chazelle's screenplay.
Exactly.
Yeah. It was a wonderful screenplay.
Yeah, fantastic writing, brilliant acting as well. Like,
it had all the things that make a movie like this work. Where obviously you don't need the effects, you don't need super colorful stylized. You need great performances that are given great writing.
and obviously for this film, great music, which it had.
Yeah.
So, given all that,
yes.
Shall we get into our rating?
I suppose we shall.
Alright, well, you
I
want to
will
go
take
first?
the lead. Alright, I will give this. I've been going back and forth between a couple. Trying to give it the long run rating or the kind of what's fresh rating.
Well, tell you what, just because we don't reiterate it often enough, our rating system, we start at 0 being an absolute perfect film. We found nothing wrong with it. And then we take away at our own discretion points for this, that, and the other. What we try and do is, if we really like the film, there's not much. It's like, just minus 0.1, 0.2.
We're just negative people, so we like going in.
Exactly. You may
So
have noticed.
if it really bothers you, just switch that negative side into a plus.
Into a plus.
Just
And
like a grading, and then add.
Yeah, the higher if you're swapping it, the higher the number means the more things we found wrong with it. So
a plus 3 would be like a plus 7.
yeah, there you go.
10. Yeah,
and then
really.
as we go down, we get into the murky waters of
I think
we just
Lincoln might have been our highest. I think I gave that a minus 0.1.
Yeah, Lincoln definitely one of the highest ratings we've done.
I think
And if you are a continued listener of this podcast, you might have just listened to what is probably our lowest rated.
I don't think I can get lower than minus infinity. Negative infinity.
You haven't given yourself much leeway there. You're going to have to reinvent
I kind of painted
maths.
myself into a corner with that one.
I almost want to find a film you hate more than Mordecai now.
Oh, wow. That's a tough mission. You might die before that happens.
Well, that can be the last episode we do. I will find a film you hate more than Mordecai.
Great bushy beards. I found it right.
Bushy beard.
Crusty jugglers. And
Okay.
now we've gone off the rails.
Yes, we have.
Right.
Yes, your rating, sir.
Rating. I'm going to give this a minus 1.5.
Okay.
I thought it was excellent. Very little bothered me about this film.
No.
I didn't think it ran long. I know you mentioned the girlfriend that was kind of not so important.
I suppose it was character, but not the scenes.
But
So,
she was
yeah.
there to illustrate that point, and I think she needed a couple of those scenes just to illustrate that. But yeah, minus 1.5. Like everything we've talked about, I absolutely loved that. This is J.K. Simmons and Miles Teller's movie.
Yeah.
Some of the best. I mean, this was such a good year for male performances. Going back on what I said before about there was a lot to choose from, but they were two of the best, I thought.
Yeah.
All year.
Yeah, really well done. Well, my rating, I think I was trying to think about it in terms of just how I rate this film, because when it comes to like experience film, there's not many films that I've had where it's been like, that was the best film experience I've ever had. I think as of right now, Pacific Rim is my best experience film I've ever had. Yeah. Just because of how that made me feel when I was in the cinema there. So I think my rating is definitely just like my critical thinking of this film, and I'm gonna go with a minus 1 for this. Nice. I thoroughly enjoyed watching it. As we were saying, the performances were excellent. The film looked really good, and some music that really did make me think like I might not go out and buy a jazz album, but like I won't. It's definitely one of those things of like I'd like to just kind of have some jazz.
If I buy
it,
it might be the soundtrack to Whiplash.
Yeah, there we go. We'll get some Whiplash going.
Yeah, that's about it.
But yeah, there's not much I could say against the film. But obviously, I have said the thing that I thought was just kind of pointless was in my own personal feelings that the girlfriend was there specifically so that she could then not be there. So it was kind of, it was almost like I'm just going to dangle this here and then throw it away. Okay, we're done with that. Move on. Yeah. So, but yeah, I understand why she was in there. But yeah, so definitely minus 1 from me.
Yeah, see it if you haven't already. See it again if
really
you have already. Either way, see it again.
Yeah. It's at Redbox. I'm sure it'll be on Netflix in 6 months.
I think it's on demand right now. Well, I don't know if it's available for rent. I know it's available for purchase on demand.
Right.
It might be both, but yeah, find a way to see it. Yes,
and then if you're listening to this in a year's time, just like, why don't you own a DVD? I mean, really, come on. Yeah, okay.
Yeah, all right, enough of that. All right. Any closing business?
I just reiterate, find us on Twitter, Facebook, email. Just get a hold of us and tell us what you thought of Whiplash. And really, we'd love to hear what your takes are and what your takes on our takes are.
And try to stay on our tempo, please.
Yes, please do.
Don't make us Twitter slap you.
I'm sure we could find any number of clips of J.K. Simmons that we will just bombard you with.
Absolutely. All right. Well, I have been Brian.
And I have been Paul.
We'll see you next time.
Bye.